Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. And, I wanted to start off the show by letting you know and reminding you that there is a full lunar eclipse next week. Now, it's going to be early in the morning when I'm usually up, so it's not a big deal for me. I'm going to go out and check it out. But you're going to have to probably set the alarm or whatever you got to do, put it in your calendar and make sure you're awake, because really the peak of it, the eclipse maximum, will be at 3:34 in the morning on Tuesday, March 3rd. And the good news is it looks like we're really holding off any chances for rain next week until Wednesday. So Tuesday will most likely be mainly clear skies, and we might get a full view of the eclipse. Now, the thing is, you got to make sure you watch it and get to a nice high spot too, because it will be low on the horizon, because right after the eclipse ends, it is going to go right below the horizon. So it's going to be kind of a lower than we typically see it. All right, so take a look at the radar. We saw the rain, of course, yesterday, right? Heavy rainfall, flooding in some areas, mudslides, debris flows, as expected, right? Sacramento River, yeah, I mean, it is getting higher than originally anticipated even just a few days ago. And that's what we talk about. Days before these rain events, when we look at the forecast levels of the Sacramento River, we have to remember those forecasts are only as good as how much rain we anticipate and how much flow is coming out of the dams and the works, or the reservoirs, right? So, yeah, there are some flood warnings we need to tell you about. In fact, let's take a look at that. No, we're not going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at that here in just a second. But I want to show you some of the rainfall totals that we did see. Now, we did see some shadowing in the south end of the valley. Corning, Willows, only about a half an inch to about 9/10. Chico, a little bit more. And look at that, Redding Airport, over 3 inches. But look where, of course, where the heaviest rainfall is expected: Trinity County, Del Norte, Humboldt, upwards of 5 inches and even more in some spots. And then, of course, we did see a little bit more of that orographic lifting again east of the valley, giving us some heavier rainfall east of the valley around Chester, Quincy. Look at Shingletown. I saw some reports of over 6 inches in parts of Shingletown. 6 inches of rain, 48 hours. So again, you can see why a lot of the creeks and streams were overflowing, and not to mention around the Sacramento River and the Eel River along the coast. We'll get into that here in just a sec. Let's take a look at your Krueger's Quickcast so you know what to expect as you head out the door today. Let's start with the flood warning. Now, we do have a flood warning along the Sacramento River, mainly into Hama County. Now, this is in effect until tomorrow morning. So we take a look at the forecast river levels, and it's been kind of going back and forth. Some reason, I feel like I need to stop this, because it was showing it up to, because we're live here, I'm gonna see if I can, that is so weird. Because earlier it was showing, let's try this again. Is it not? That is so odd. It was up in the minor flood stage and now it's not. That is so weird. Frustrating. My technology doesn't want to work for me. Let me try this. Studio frames, river levels. I'm going to go here. I'm going to try this and see what happens. Give me a second, folks. I'm going to try something here and see if this changes anything. Let's see what happens here. We're going to go into the past 48 hours. Come on, load it up. It's kind of a data intensive. No, it's the same thing. Okay, well, shoot. Now I got to commit to this until it loads up, and then I got to get it out. I apologize. A bit of a delay here. What's interesting is when I did my morning recording, it was showing in the action stage. But then I saw it a little bit later, and it was back in the minor flood stage. So I'm not sure what's going on with the data, but let's go off of the fact that the National Weather Service does have a flood warning. And let's just go ahead and say, for argument's sake, that we are going to eventually reach the flood stage, minor flood stage, for a brief period of time before we do see improving conditions. And of course, that's at the Viner-Whitson Bridge, again, putting it barely into the action stage. So we're kind of getting into that borderline here at the very least of that minor flood stage. Now, there is also a flood warning until 6 p.m. today for the Eel River, right, in Fortuna, basically just south of Eureka. All right, so this, same thing. It was showing it in the moderate flood stage. It's a little bit lower now in the minor flood stage. Again, bottom line, these areas have that potential for flooding, and we need to be on the lookout for that in those areas before we do see improving conditions after that. All right, enough of that. That was just, I don't know, boggling my mind. It's like it's been, the data's been going up and down. And maybe that's what the Weather Service's data is doing. Maybe it's just fluctuating because it updates regularly. So there you can see, look at the temperatures out there right now, low to mid 50s in the valley. Right now, we're in the 40s for the higher elevations and somewhere in the low 50s out along the coast right now. So out the door this morning, overcast. There's going to be some drizzle out there. The coast, inland, valley, many of the mountain areas, all seeing the potential for that drizzle in the morning. And then it should start to improve through the afternoon. We still have that flow coming in from the tropics, and that's the source for the clouds, at least. Still a very saturated atmosphere. So even though we're drier than we were yesterday, much drier, there's still going to be the potential for that drizzle through the morning hours and maybe even some of these light showers. And then going through the afternoon, this is looking at the HRRR forecast model. It is showing that we may eventually see some clearing for some of us, some more than others, but I would call it partly to mostly cloudy skies across the board for this afternoon. For those of you that work outdoors and need to know what's going on with the winds, well, there's really nothing to be concerned about. We don't expect anything all that gusty. Just generally looking at south winds today, probably transitioning more from the north by tonight and into tomorrow. Mount Shasta Ski Park, latest report is 33 inches at the top of Douglas. It is rider packed. And of course, the roads are all clear heading out to the ski park. Taking a look at the forecast snow totals, unfortunately, nothing for today, tomorrow. Now, Saturday, snow levels still fairly high, but we may see a little bit of snow on Saturday in the upper portions of the park. Otherwise, if we see those showers and thunderstorms on Saturday, it will probably be in the form of rain, probably even over the ski park, unfortunately. You can see the rainfall chances are much slimmer through Friday. There's that chance for showers, possible thunderstorms, especially on Saturday. And then I would say actually slimmer chances going into Sunday. Temperatures in the mid 60s for your highs on Wednesday, and looks like in the low to mid 50s for the higher elevations and mid to upper 50s for the coast. Tonight we're dropping down into the low 40s, low to mid 40s for the valley, 20s and 30s for the higher elevations, and it looks like generally in the low to mid 40s for the coast. Your 7-day forecast is dry through Friday. There's that chance for thunderstorms Saturday, maybe some isolated showers Sunday. And now I'm going to dry things out here for your Monday, Tuesday, and getting into the 70s. There you can see the coast, possible thunderstorms on Saturday, isolated showers on Sunday, and then there you can see Monday, Tuesday, it dries out. And for Siskiyou, Modoc County, Eastern Mountains, also that chance for thunderstorms on Saturday, isolated showers on Sunday, Saturday, isolated thunderstorms. And then Monday, Tuesday, looks like we're going to dry things out again and start to warm things up before we actually see another weak system that could clip us by Wednesday. But that one looks fairly moisture starved, even though it will be a little bit colder. We're checking in with some of you this morning. Jackie from Trinidad is saying good morning. And she is probably dealing with a little bit of that drizzle out there. There you can see some drizzle, even some light showers in the Chico area. There still is a little bit of that rain in the southeastern portions of the area. Let's take a look at Highway 99 at Neal Road. Still looks a little wet out there, doesn't it? Jay saying a lot of rain yesterday in Whitmore. All right, yes. Lisa Strickland also saying good morning in Ingot. Received 3.6 inches of rain yesterday. Little Cow Creek is very close to the road in spots. Yeah, this is some of the localized flooding we were talking about. You can still see it. It's pretty wet out there in some spots. Taking a look at Highway 44, Sundial Bridge Drive. Curtis Brown saying good morning, measured 1.33. A bit of that rain shadow, if you will. It was still raining then. Tehama was at monitor stage yesterday. He says he uses the Cal Nevada River Forecast Center. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for that. That's a look at Sundial Bridge Drive. Yeah, still pretty wet out there. The roads are wet. We've got Kenny Aylwood saying, Mike, any lake measurements? Well, let's get to that a little bit early, and I do have some lake level measurements. Let's take a look at them, shall we? I've got them right here. Give me a second. There we go. We'll go ahead and load that up for you. And no, that's the marine forecast. We're not looking at the marine. We want to look at the lake levels. All right, let's get to the lake levels. There it is. So there you go, Kenny. Any lake level, there's your request. You can see, actually, in the last 24 hours, with the rain that we did see, most of the lakes have risen by over 2, even in some parts that is 2.5 feet. So yeah, looking pretty good with the amount of rain that we did see. And of course, as you'd expect, we are above that historical average. So yep, just for you, Kenny, good question. I know that's kind of a big thing. You love to kind of monitor those lake levels. Let's take you back to the maps here. We're going to take you to, let's go to Crescent City. And this is looking out at, of course, wouldn't you know, just in time for me to be live, it decided to freeze up on me. All right, let's take a look at Bald Hill West there. You can see kind of foggy there. Becky's saying, I know we need the rain, but we need one day to dry a little. And you're going to get that. Still wet this morning, kind of that drizzle, but it will improve today, and especially for your Thursday, Friday. So Becky, no need to worry. You get that break. Yeah, and Jackie's saying, definitely drizzle on the coast at the moment. So there you go. And drizzly. And Soda Ridge as well. Kenny's saying thank you. You are more than welcome, Kenny. By the way, what we were discussing, they have been ordered. That's a little inside thing, folks. We got some exciting things happening in the coming month or so. We've got some new things, bringing a new element to Weather NorCal. Very excited about it, and it's something that I think will grow and be awesome. And Kenny Elwood is going to be on the forefront of that, so we're very excited about that. So thank you, Kenny. And yes, we will be discussing later about where we're going to put these things. Yeah. So those of you who aren't in, well, you'll just have to wait and see. Fort Jones, there you can see we've got the overcast skies there. Of course, this is just mainly the fog that we are seeing in those low-lying areas. Let's take a look at Lassen Park. It looks like there may have been some rain on top of that snow. You can see, typically what we can see, number one, we see that get a little bit lower, but number two, any snow that was on the trees, that tends to melt off when you get rain on top of it. And you can see the trees don't have any more snow on the branches there. So that's a bit of a bummer to see that. Well, today is Wednesday. Every other week we do a Grange Co-op Spotlight. And this week we are going to learn more about, of course, we can just kind of go into the different departments that they have. And they got some great house plants over at Grange Co-op if you didn't know about that. So be sure to check out this week's Grange Co-op Spotlight and their house plants. Hello everyone, I'm Mike Krueger from Weather NorCal, and I am at Reading Co-op here. This is the houseplant section that we're in, or the department. And with me right now, I've got Misty. You're in charge of this whole operation here, at least at this department here. So tell me about some of the things that you offer here in the houseplant.
Well, we have a wide variety of houseplants. We have some rare houseplants that people can't find other places. We have regular everyday houseplants. We have easy, hard, and we also can do special orders if there's something that somebody's interested in that we don't have. We can look into our vendors and try to order that.
What are some of the things, like if someone who was looking for a houseplant and they didn't quite know what to, can someone come in here and say, I'm looking for a certain kind of, what kind of help can you usually give them?
Yeah. The different types of plants obviously have different water requirements, different light requirements, different soil requirements. So we are pretty good about knowing which plants kind of need what, and we can help people decide what plant is best for them.
All right, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, be sure to come out here to the Grange Co-op. They got a great selection of houseplants for you. Come on down. We'll see you next time. Once again, I want to thank Grange Co-op for their continued sponsorship of Weather NorCal, and of course all of our other sponsors. So grateful for all of them, because without them we would not be able to offer you Weather NorCal for free. So it's all thanks to our sponsors. So once again, Grange Co-op. Hey, let's take a look at this. We mentioned this a little bit earlier in the top of the show. Maybe you missed it though. There is a full lunar eclipse going on next week, Tuesday morning, March 3rd. Put it in your calendars, and be sure to put your alarms on as well for early in the morning, because the maximum eclipse will be at 3:34 in the morning next Tuesday, March 3rd. So yes, it's going to be one of those early morning deals. As of right now, I am anticipating mainly clear skies, so it looks like we will have mainly clear skies to be able to check out. that lunar eclipse. So we'll, of course, be continuing to remind you that through the rest of this week and into next week as well. By the way, Coffee with Krueger is sponsored by and has been sponsored by Wind River Resort and Casino since day one. So at Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. Let's get into those weather headlines, and it's mainly dry and warmer for the rest of the week. I'm watching a weak disturbance Thursday, but for now it looks fairly dry. We got showers over the weekend, and I think we could even be looking at thunderstorms on Saturday, possibly looking at some leftover showers Sunday before we dry things out through most of next week. And I say that because Wednesday of next week, a cold system that could lower snow levels, but it's moisture starved. So we'll get into all of that and what that all means as we go through next week in our deeper dive forecast sponsored by Shasta Hearing Aids.
Hearing loss can creep in little by little until one day you realize something's been missing. It's not about things being louder, it's about the moments that slip by. The joke you didn't quite catch, the quiet I love you, or the conversations with your kids that deserve the full attention. At Shasta Hearing Aids here in Redding, we believe hearing aid care should feel personal. Through compassionate care, a comprehensive hearing aid screening, and technology tailored to your lifestyle, we help you reconnect to what matters most. Schedule your free hearing aid evaluation today.
All right, let's start off with the radar. And, I was talking about yesterday all day long that eventually it was just going to all push down to the south and east. And it did that. It just took a little longer than anticipated, but it is pretty much done with at this point. All the rain down to the south and east. And really what we're dealing with right now is just the overcast skies, a lot of low clouds. The air is still very saturated, folks. So what we're dealing with is, even though the radar is really not picking up on much in the way of rain, there is some drizzle out there. And some of the drizzle is heavy enough, if you will, that it will be lightly something that will accumulate. So you're going to be talking about a few hundredths of an inch of drizzle once all is said and done, probably through the morning. Otherwise, we do expect drier conditions going through the afternoon and eventually even some clearing skies in some areas here. But these rainfall totals are very impressive. As you can clearly see, over 3 inches out towards the Redding Airport. A little bit of shadowing to the south of that. You can see about a ½ inch Willows, a little bit more than that in Corning, and then Chico about 1.32. Now, where we saw most of the rain was generally to the west of the valley. Upwards of 2, 3, 4, even over 5 inches of rain in some spots here. You can see that little bullseye in southwestern Humboldt County. Now, this is also where we saw the most amount of flooding, mudslides and debris flows as well. We're also seeing Eel River at Fern Bridge, looking at some flooding, some moderate flooding that is expected to recede later on today. The Sacramento River, it's not necessarily because we saw a ton of rain in the air, because you can see most of the rain was in the higher elevations, but the runoff from the foothills working its way down to the valley is causing us to see the Sacramento River begin to swell up as well. And that's where we have those flood warnings, Tehama Bridge, and out towards, just south of that, Tehama Bridge. What's the other one? Ord Ferry, I believe. But you get the idea. In Tehama County, along the Sacramento River, there are going to be some areas of flooding. That's a very good possibility, but we expect that to recede later on this afternoon and evening. Now, what happened was the winds go up the mountains, it squeezes out all that moisture. We see then when it goes on the leeward or the east side of the mountains, those winds go down, so the showers tend to dissipate. You need rising air for rain. So if the air starts to sink, the showers start to dissipate. And that's essentially what we saw in parts of the valley. But then those winds go back up the mountains east of the valley, and it squeezes out more of that moisture before it gets on the leeward side of those mountains, and we see less rainfall off to the east. So bottom line, a lot of rainfall, but things are starting to dry out a little bit. There you can see temperatures in the mid-50s for the most part in the valley, 40s for the higher elevations, low 50s out along the coast at the current hour. So we still have this big feed of moisture heading into Northern California. The main impact that we're going to see here for today is the cloud cover, because we're actually getting cut off from that flow a bit. And you can see that here looking at that moisture. Here's the tropical moisture, right? That feed coming right from the tropics right into Northern California. And that was the source for yesterday. But you see how it's cutting off right here? And that's thanks to this area of low pressure kind of digging and kind of kidnapping that moisture, if you will, and kind of pulling it a little bit more to the west. That's coming in for Thursday and Friday. And then by the time we get to Saturday, that pushes to the east. Now we lose that tap, but there's going to be a lot of that leftover moisture in place, and that's what's going to give us more showers on Saturday, maybe some thunderstorms, maybe some leftover activity on Sunday, and then Monday, that will start to clear out. So high pressure is another reason why we're getting kind of a break from that tap of that moisture, as we see most of the rain is off to the west here. As we go into Thursday, Friday, you see how it stays off to our west. High pressure is still in place, so again, keeping us on that in the drying trend. But then we go into Saturday, showers, possible thunderstorms. Sunday, more showers. I don't expect any thunderstorms on Sunday. Monday, Tuesday looks dry, and then you can see a weak system that'll come through. Now, this is a colder storm. It's coming in from the Gulf of Alaska, but it's going to be your typical moisture-starved storm. So there still will be some showers out there in the lower elevations and some light snow in some of the higher elevations. And at this point, I would say snow levels around 4,500 feet or higher is where we're going to see it. And at best, a few inches of snow for some of the highest elevations, maybe upwards of, say, 3 to 6 inches as you go above 6,000 feet or so. So again, not a major impactful storm, but it will certainly bring us a little bit of snow for some of those higher elevations. And then we dry things out by Thursday and most likely even into Friday of next week. All right, let's take a look at Futurecast, get you through at least the first half of the weekend. And there you can see the overcast skies, drizzle, maybe even a light shower or two this morning, this morning. There you go. We go to 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Still some clouds. We may see some clearing, and I think the drizzle is going to become less and less widespread as we do go through the afternoon. And as I mentioned, maybe even some sunshine for some of us. Showing a little bit of fog here for your Thursday morning, but I think a bit of a northerly breeze will prevent that from happening in most cases for the valley. But wind-sheltered areas in the valley could see some fog tomorrow morning, and many of the mountain valleys will probably see some fog as well. We take you into your Thursday afternoon. More clouds moving in, but staying fairly dry. Then we take you into your Friday morning, Friday midday, partly cloudy skies, turning out to be another dry day. And then by Friday night, we see these disturbances pushing on through. And then eventually, as we go into Saturday afternoon, we're looking at the potential for thunderstorms. And I think everyone will see that chance. Coast, inland, mountains, valley, all seeing that potential. If you get caught under a thunderstorm, as I say that, if you get caught, because not everybody will. I think we've got scattered showers, and some of us will see some thunderstorms. But if you get caught under a thunderstorm, brief period of heavy rainfall, gusty winds, hail, lightning, right? Your typical things that we have to deal with these thunderstorms. I don't expect any of them to reach severe category. That would be stronger winds. I don't expect any, spin-ups, any, tornadoes or anything like that. But we'll be watching that here very closely. Then we go into Saturday night. You can see it pushes off to the east, still a little bit of leftover activity to the north and east. Then that moves out. And then by Sunday, still a slight chance for some showers, but I don't anticipate thunderstorms on Sunday. The winds are not going to be that much of an issue for today either, generally coming from the south through the day. And then by tonight, they'll be shifting more from the north. But I don't expect it to get all that breezy, 10, maybe 15 miles per hour. Drier than normal conditions coming in from the Climate Prediction Center as we go into the first week of March. Wetter than normal conditions, though, off to our east, with warmer than normal conditions going into March as well. So here we go, right? Are we going into spring? Well, let's take a look at the 10-day trend. Gets a little bit warmer on Friday. There's that dip on Saturday, Sunday with that chance for showers, right? But then we just kind of level out in the upper 60s to low 70s in the valley through all of next week. And in fairly dry conditions, although that system possibly coming in Wednesday of next week. There's lake levels. We saw this a little bit earlier. Kenny Elwood had requested that. So if you're still watching, Kenny, here they are again. But there you can see over 2 feet of rise in those lake levels over the last 24 hours. That's phenomenal, right? A lot of rainfall. Remember, the majority of the water that comes from the lakes is actually from rainfall, not necessarily snowmelt. Although the snowmelt is a factor and it helps, it's mainly the rainfall, the runoff from the rain. All right, there you can see the wave heights are expected to retreat going through the day on Thursday, but then on Friday, we are expected to see those come back in with that approaching storm system, week one coming in over the weekend. There you can see north winds at about 10 to 15 knots. No small craft advisories as we are seeing those wave heights recede a little bit here. There's your Dignity Health neighborhoods forecast. Temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 50s for your daytime highs. Now, across the board, mainly dry conditions for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday is when I think everyone is going to see, at the very least, a chance for thunderstorms. Otherwise, scattered showers on Saturday, and then some leftover showers on Sunday with no thunderstorms most likely. And then we're drying things out for the beginning of next week. 58 degrees for a high today in Gas Key. Hoopa about 57. Siskiyou County, you've got temperatures mid-50s, give or take, about 54 degrees in Fort Jones, 53 degrees in Weed. Modoc County, you've got temperatures today in the low to mid-50s for your daytime highs. And we take you down into the eastern mountains where we've got temperatures there generally mid-50s. Warmer spot will be Paradise with a high of about 60 degrees. South end of the valley, temperatures mid-60s, 65 degrees out in Hamilton City as well as Chico, 65 in Biggs. There's your 7-day forecast for Chico. Actually warming up on Friday up to 71. Possible showers, possible thunderstorms on Saturday, maybe an isolated shower on Sunday. Drying out and warming up for early next week. 65 for Redding as well as Palisadro, 61 for Whiskeytown and Lakehead. A high today of about 61. Let's take a look at that 7-day forecast for Redding. Temperature of about 70 by tomorrow, 74 on Friday. There's that chance for thunderstorms and a little bit cooler over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And then we're back into the low 70s by the time we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week. All right, folks, that is a look at your forecast here for today. Hope you have yourselves a great rest of your afternoon. We're going to leave you with a couple of cameras across the region here and get you ready to get out the door this morning. Do note that it will be still some drizzle out there, a little wet this morning. Even the roads will still be a little wet, so you still need to maybe allow yourself a little bit of extra time as you're getting to work or getting the kids off to school this morning because, yes, it's still a little wet out there. You can clearly see that right here from the Soda Ridge camera and many of the other cameras in the region. In the meantime, have yourselves a great rest of your day, and we will see you right here again tomorrow morning for your Thursday edition of Coffee with Krueger. Have a great one, everyone.